All right, let's jump right into it. Thank you everybody for attending episode 27 in Let's Talk Recruiting. We got 3 panel there, Sheridan, perfect. We got 1 more panelist who should be jumping on, but I want to thank all the panelists and attendees. There's Justin coming on for attending today's topic and giving today's business environment with everything going on. I think it's very relevant to when things start turning back on and we keep going. I, for one, am hoping those things happen more sooner than later. And when they do, I hope it's a quick jump start rather than a slow growth back to normal. But time will tell, but hopefully it'll be on our side. Today's topic, why every recruiter should want to be on your recruiting team. There's nothing better than to have a great recruiting team to work with. I've been in a lot of different places as a consultant, so I got to see a lot of different types of people and how they are. You can kind of tell different vibes from another. So having that good positive energy, that positive vibe is always really fun to be around. Today with us as panelists, we have Michelle Marquand from San Diego area. We have Will Marzullo. Am I getting that last name, Will? Right?
That's correct. That's right.
Okay, I am getting better at these. I'm getting very proud of myself. And Sheridan, Will is out of Dallas. If you couldn't tell, he's a Texas cowboy. I hope he's changed to be a Packer fan because I grew up just south of Green Bay. But anyways, we have Sheridan King out of DC and Justin Baxter also out of the DC area. So with that said, we're just going to have a good, fun roundtable conversation. And Michelle, I am going to start with you if you want to sort of jump right into your key item that you wanted to address.
Yes. So I started with a couple different things. I'm the director of recruitment for Hilton for the West team. I have a team of 17 underneath me and 56 across the country, but 17 directly underneath myself. And we fill about 10,000 positions a year as a full team, 4,500 on the West. We are a high volume recruitment team across all the different brands of Hilton. And I can tell you that I work with I know we're all going to say it, but the most amazing people and the most amazing team. And I feel blessed and fortunate every single day. And there's team members that have been with Hilton for 15 years and some that just joined this year. And creating that cohesive team where everybody just loves each other and to work with each other, I think is something that we've really been able to develop. And that, there's a lot of reasons for that. Is company culture, there's development, there's, the work scope, there's so many different reasons. But I think some of the things for my team is, we never take for granted that we know any one thing or that we're experts, and we're always elevating together. So whatever that looks like, just like we're doing today on this panel, I think that's something that this team does together continuously. So you always go back to basics because it's easy to forget them, and how to elevate and bring in new resources, and definitely challenge this team to take a monthly meeting or be that expert on something new that's going on in recruitment and educate the team. So we all elevate together. And I think that's one of the key things where everybody feels as though they are equally important, and that there is no one team member that is better than another. I think it's really important to love the team that you're part of. And then to get a little bit out of the monotony of that constant recruitment piece, because at high volume, that does become a very monotonous place, especially when you're recruiting the non-exempt positions. So one of the things that we like to do is really stretch our team to do different projects where they get to be exposed across Hilton and into different, where they get to work across with teams, maybe data analytics or possibly, working with brand and marketing or something else that gives them some visibility inside a larger organization for either, a career path or just to really expand themselves and feel like they're more than just the turn and burn of recruitment. But I have the best team.
Michelle, around project work, are they optional, or are you kind of assigning projects to your team members?
So we have a lot of projects that we do at Hilton continuously. We're moving into the world of automation, or we're looking to, we're a centralized department. So what do those efficiencies look like? And so we do a lot of things that are very projects oriented, where we're rolling out some things, testing them, seeing if they work. What are the results coming out of it? The candidate experience surveys, what does that look like? So we're constantly trying to, so instead of having the same, 4 or 5 people on the same projects that, always raise their hand, we really do make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be part of it. And for a lot of the recruiters, it's really coming out of their comfort zone, but at the end of it, they're so elevated and they're doing something they've never done before. And then it's an equal playing field across the team.
Excellent. For the other panelists, are you implementing project type work in your teams kind of on like a regular basis?
Based on the stage or life cycle of our organization, there's no opportunity for that at the moment, which will make more sense after I explain what we're doing. But we have not had the opportunity to do that yet.
When I was at Tribune Publishing, we would have group meetings once a month just for like social engagement, nothing like direct work related. And, you had the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Baltimore Sun, Miami Herald. And they would have to do a recruiter on those, each locations would come in, and their project was really just to give the history and location and story behind that newspaper. So it was a great way to kind of do project work that would benefit you being a recruiter for those locations. And then for everybody else to learn about that city, the history of the news, everything like that. But I always thought that was really interesting, a great way to do work. And you had to do a deck, presentation, everything like that. And you got to learn about the company. So I thought that was really neat.
We do a lot too, where we ask the recruiters to go out, monthly, at least on my team for the monthly meetings. What does the market intrusion look like? Can you share with us even just some of the analysis on some wage analysis? And that's all available. It's always available online, and any recruiter can access it. But it's nice to go ahead and put a PowerPoint presentation together and then deliver it back to the team and have something that's in a little bit more of a professional format. And so everybody is tasked with that. Sometimes it's just about something that's really new, a new tool or something cool that's some of the other companies are working on in recruitment, and maybe we don't have the budget for. It's really nice to know what those resources are so the team is educated.
Excellent. And anybody else have anything to add to that piece?
Yeah, I was going to say for my team, I run a pretty high volume sourcing team here, so it's about 16 folks. Like Michelle, we have, 6,000, 7,000 jobs at any given moment that we're filling at SAIC, probably half of which require security clearance, so pretty specialized. And I'm constantly having different people on my team. I manage people everywhere from early career to 20 years my senior, and I want to give them projects that are going to expand some of the areas that may be weaknesses for them. So that could be technology, that could be negotiation, that could be other areas within the stack. We're doing everything from automation projects to building out talent networks to leveraging now a lot more AI, text bots, chat bots, training a chat bot, and then also combining that with the old school nuts and bolts of cold calling, right? Of negotiation, of ABC, always be closing. And so bridging the gap between old school and new school, because for me, the best recruiter is going to combine a cold call list and really good old school methodologies with, automation and AI, so that they can still go see their kids or their wife or their husband. And in a 40-hour period of time, they can do what, maybe 5 recruiters could do by leveraging bots, by leveraging certain technologies, and also taking breaks, right? Because, we're all home, they have kids at home. So teaching them how, through some of these projects, they can leverage technology so that they have more time to balance out their life, especially now with COVID, is really critically important. So we definitely do projects, and they range. And then, like Michelle said, we're doing brainstorming. So every week we have a new tool, and we have a train the trainer where somebody on my team will train the team. And it could be one of my seasoned recruiters. It could be somebody who's more entry level and saw this really cool open source Chrome extension, and he or she wants to show the team. And giving them that platform is huge. And obviously we do this at an enterprise level, and that's just internally, and then we go external and train the rest of 100 plus recruiters that work here, 150, right? So we're considered like the subject matter experts for to some extent. Yeah.
Sheridan, anything to add to that?
Very similar. I mean, Michelle said, from a team perspective, she tries to make sure that everybody feels important on the team. So give everybody an equal opportunity platform. And we do that a lot in terms of the projects that we will have the teams do. And they do focus on reporting and technology. We do a lot of, how can we be better in terms of sourcing? What are the technology tools that we're using in terms of sourcing? Professional development too. Justin, you mentioned, if somebody feels strongly about something that they've seen that's new that they want to share with the rest of the team, then we'll set up a call and have them talk through that, or we'll do it on one of our team calls. And for us, we have projects that are ongoing all year long. Right now, some of our hiring has been pushed into what is our Q2. So some of our teams are a little bit more project heavy while they're maintaining their pipelines. We always have some kind of project going on. Absolutely.
Excellent. And Justin, I don't know if you saw that. Oh, you saw it in the chat. Gotcha. Just giving you a heads up. All right. Fantastic. Yeah, Michelle, I couldn't agree more. Project work, especially if you're getting recruiters that want to develop up skill sets and career levels, getting that project work in is excellent. And being able to be a leader to provide that opportunity, fantastic. All right, Will, let's jump over to you and your items.
Thank you. My name is Will Marzullo. I'm the Vice President of Talent for Health IQ, which is a startup out of Silicon Valley that for about 3.5 years now, originally operationalized in San Diego, where we have licensed health insurance and life insurance, PNC insurance agents selling policies. We approach the marketplace a little bit different than Select Quote and eHealth, where we have proprietary differentiators of really validated assessments to offer discounts to healthy individuals. And our tests have been validated and now patented. So that's good for us. We are still in startup mode. We are now moving from San Diego to Dallas because we are in the process of hiring 1,500 employees over the next 3 months. And it is a little bit more cost effective to do that in Dallas than in San Diego or anywhere in California. So the opportunity for me when I came here 6 months ago, not only was to scale or be able to scale this team, but also to bring the technology needed. So I have implemented a brand new ATS system. We have AI, chatbots, text, retargeting. We've all put in the last 4 months. And I went from 3 recruiters and now have 20. So finding why recruiters want to come to our organization was something that was crucial for me to do as I was selecting good talent. I think we have we're uniquely placed in the marketplace that our employee value prop aligns well for a recruiter as much as it does for all the technology, data science, and insurance agents that we are bringing on. And it kind of falls into 2 buckets. We're a very mission-driven organization with a very active CEO in a positive way. It drives a culture that is very much trying to be like Southwest Airlines, and he is very close to that organization and really wants that for our team. We are a meritocracy-driven organization, so the cream rises to the top. They get promotions, and it's a great opportunity, especially with our trajectory of growth for any level of the organization. I believe that if I have an opportunity to get to know someone and they learn a little bit about me, my track record, what the legacy I want to leave are successful recruiting leadership. That's all I have to offer. So I believe I train my people in a way that I set them up for future. But I think moreover, one of the things that really appeals to people are kind of the hard cost reasons of it. We have new systems and technology that really appeal, and as Justin was saying, make them be able to act in a one and a half or 2 times normal capacity. We're a very metrics driven organization. Because we are a quasi sales organization, so metrics fall onto us. I find that good recruiters want those metrics. They want to know what their goals are. And then self-servingly, we are a startup with very realistic IPO trajectory for all of our employees. All of our employees get shares and are part ownership, just like your Green Bay Packers. And I set up the compensation. So the compensation is extremely fair and competitive as it sits. But from my agency days, I've added a spiff per placement for them, which again fits well into a sales organization. And it's an opportunity for our recruiters to realistically make anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000 more per month. And we are or used to operate as a call center, an inbound contact center for our agents. We are all now working from home. We are trying to figure out what that means and if we go back. But when we are back, the one thing that has changed is that we will not be in the office full time. And so we have extremely flexible in-office schedules. So we will still hire within the region that we want to be in, but how often you're in the office is not nearly as important as how often you produce. And that's the same for all of our employees. So that type of schedule where, 6 months ago would have been, no, you can't work from home. What are you doing? It's no good. Now we've all figured it out. So those are some of the unique opportunities that I think a lot of our employees have, but certainly on the recruiting side, that has allowed me to quickly ramp this team into people that are producing really well. We before I got here, were making 4 or 6 placements a month because that's all that was necessary. And now we're making a couple hundred a month. So everything has changed.
Well, how does that conversation go when you talk about a spiff program for recruiters?
I have yet to find a recruiter who doesn't like it. I say, so we have 2. We have our exempt and non-exempt, which we call variable and fixed. The variable is obviously the salespeople. Those positions, they get $300 per placement of those. And on the exempt or fixed side, it's $500 a placement. The recruiters on the variable side are making 15 to 25 placements a month individually. And on the fixed side, it's what you would imagine. If they can get 5 to 10, quality exempt level manager, director, very industry specific type people, they're doing really well. And it averages out well. They are very surprised, except for those that come from the agency world who are like, oh, that's great. That reminds me of what we used to have.
Right. So do you have a combination of contractors and FTEs, or are they all FTEs on your recruiting team?
They're all FTEs, or they have been all FTEs until Monday, where I am onboarding 4 contractors as sourcers because the applicants are stacking up, and I want to be able to provide a good candidate experience. And oh yeah, by the way, I need all those people, so I'm going to have people go in there and vet those candidates and just fill the pipelines of the recruiters. So it is really a W-2 strategy for all of our people. However, next year, I'm told that, or part of the conversation, that we're going to grow for open enrollment period of Medicare by 2,000 people. So while that's just going to be a short period of time for 3 months, I'll probably use contractors so I can stay flexible in my budget.
Gotcha. Does anybody have anything to add to that? I do have one question from the audience, but I'll let anybody else chime in from the panel.
No, we actually looked at it at Hilton because of the volume but doing something like a kicker or a spiff or something like that. It never took off, and it never, there's a lot of, different things with it. And because we are so high volume, and my team will place somewhere between 20 to 30 a month. So it's really true high volume. And then on the non-exempt side, maybe more like 12 to 15,
Right.
that team does that, and we're separated out at Hilton. But it was talked about, and it was something that got kicked around. And I actually personally, and I come from an agency side, so I love that incentive, because I think there's this piece where you always feel like you're in this kind of roller, and when you start to see the money that is equated with the work you do, I think there's just validation to it. So I think it's awesome.
And Will, the question from the audience was, how will this comp structure change for your FTEs when your company is fully staffed? Is that something you're not even thinking about us down the road, or is that?
So I dream of this day of being fully staffed. We are call center operations, so I am told we will have better than normal call center attrition. So, but there will always be positions to fill. I think we've right-sized the number of recruiters, so there'll always be enough opportunities for them to hit their metrics, so they'll have enough recs. I think, like a lot of sales, when you grow to a different size, and really this is totally omnipresent in startups, is it will likely change. It will likely go down to some degree moving forward, because at some point someone's going to look back and go, hey, this is costing us way too much money. So it happens everywhere. It definitely happens on the agency side. So yeah, it will likely change.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, have fun while you're doing it. I've only seen one company that did. It wasn't even close to what you're doing. It was just they were very heavy into diversity within their pipeline. So their annual bonus had a portion of it that was focused on, hey, how diverse is your pipeline? These are for sourcers bringing in people, but nothing like per fill or anything like that. Justin, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask Will and actually Michelle, since you're both high volume, have you looked at any like AI matching, like going direct from the business in terms of making the desire for the rec, it triggering an ATS, and then having it all automatically, matched, so that you may be able to get more kind of bang for your buck from your ATS, and then doing some kind of AI refresh out to social from that, seeing, have you guys looked at that at all? Or maybe that's not something on your roadmap.
It's on the roadmap. It's just I launched my ATS a month ago. So
A little early, right?
Yeah, the cool thing about our company is it's full of engineers coming out of Silicon Valley, and they have built everything for me. I've not had to go to market.
Nice.
So it's coming.
Cool. Yeah, because what about you, Michelle? Just curious.
Well, I think with AI, so we definitely had tried some automated intelligence, and I believe that will be the new direction for Hilton going forward. Will be much more AI heavy. Mm-hmm. With Hilton, it's just a little bit more complicated. AI works really well when your positions are maybe the same across the board, or your BQs, your PQs are the same, and you are matching from that. But at Hilton, we have, 13 brands, and we have actually more than 13 brands, but we have, I think, 17 brands now. But there's all the different brands, and then there's there's each region has something that's just a little bit different. So when AI gets placed in and chatbots get placed in, it's very easy to get into an endless loop of being redirected to maybe the wrong position or to something that isn't correct. It just works a lot better in things that are customer service positions or the call center positions. It works phenomenally there. It's when those BQs and PQs are different across it could be the same position, but because it's in California and it has different requirements than it does, let's say maybe in Texas or Florida, so the title's the same, but the actual job description might be a little bit different. It's dictated sometimes by the labor unions. That's when it becomes a little bit more difficult to put AI across the board. So it really requires to maybe have it as really great pre-screening, and then really have a recruiting team that can go in and then help facilitate so that it doesn't become a bad candidate experience.
Yeah. So I differ on that, Michelle, because my organization recruits highly special. I mean, we'll recruit everything from Apache helicopter pilot to a software engineer to a finance analyst to a VP of what have. So you can tweak some of the syntax, and there's some bots. There are some other tools out there that you can leverage, and we can talk offline. But that can do this fairly well. And you can, if you train the bots to go and do the open web searches correctly, they can yield some pretty good results. Sometimes you need to work with the product team of some of these tools, and a lot of them, especially the startups in the Bay Area, Will mentioned that they'll work with you, and sometimes they'll even do a whole enhancement built around kind of your needs. And I've done this with a lot of our vendors where I've worked with them and said, we'll do a pilot with you, but now after the first, 2 or 3 months, we're going to fine tune what you're pulling and how we're ranking. And so it might be something to look at, because there are some vendors that will work with you at a nominal cost and, may be able to give you more productivity than maybe your past experience. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, some of it is just budgetary. Some of it is budgetary. Some of it is the interface with Taleo. Some of it is, there's some of the different things. I think that there are some systems that are out there that are much more friendly when it comes to putting technology into the back end. So there's just some other things, and a lot of it really has more to do with the budget side of it and kind of using things with limited resources. So I think that's more our issue than whether or not you can do it. I think it can be done, but.
Yeah, I'm talking nominal. We're talking probably 15 to 25 grand in some cases. So, you just got to find the right startup to kind of, work along. You may not want to go with like one of the big ones, but there's some out there, and I'll give you some names. But I just think, we've gotten, so, a lot of the recruiters, the regular full life cycle, that's going to go the way of the bots. And anyway, if you're not running the bot, you will be probably inevitably replaced by a bot at some point. So I think that's probably something we're all going to be looking at as anyone in the Fortune 500 space, at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Inevitably. So, but anyway, I was just putting that out there,
Well, I'm actually kind of curious to see, what ATS do you use, or
Taleo.
And you do?
Yep. Yeah, Taleo. And then we have a CRM too.
Yeah. And which CRM do you use?
Telemetry. Yeah. So, we're always looking for highly security clear. We're talking U.S. Army, Special Forces, national security, very niche folks. I'll be looking for somebody in South Korea, Dallas, Texas, and San Diego. And you can tweak the bot, and it can do some amazing stuff to go and find the folks, and also rack and stacking within your ATS, right? So looking at it internally, and you just have to look at some of the APIs and different things out there. But there's different ways you can approach it. But we've been successful thus far, But obviously, budget. I'm in DoD, so the budget I have is not typical, right, for my recruiting stack. And I know that.
Justin, I think you gave me a whole other series of roundtable sessions to go down.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Sherry, I'm going to jump over.
I'm kind of a geek, so
Well, when the zombie and the robot war is over, that's when the aliens will land. So we'll see what time.
The aliens that take over our job, our TA jobs.
Sheridan, let's jump over to you and your items.
Sure. I know originally you had asked, how do we get people to want to be on our recruiting teams? And so for me, I'm a little over a year over at RSM. So we're a public accounting firm. We sit right outside the Big Four, and our recruiting teams are split up primarily by line of business. So we have tax, audit, consulting, and then our internal client service roles. And I manage our experienced hire audit team as well as our internal client service team, and that ranges from office services to some more of our niche, marketing, business development kind of roles. We have a separate campus recruiting team as well. That's a whole other group. But for me, one of the things that I did, in first coming in was, really make sure that the team knew that I would be a good listener and that I would be their advocate in terms of, working with the hiring leaders and with management. I had the benefit of having a director that I worked for who did the same thing for me. So I knew that he was somebody that was a good listener, would always be my advocate. And so a lot of what I do with my team is communication, again, listening, setting up regular one-on-one meetings to talk through just, how are things going, more than just, here's your hiring numbers, here's your hiring goals, this is where you're doing well or not doing well, things that are just beyond all of the hard technical aspects of what somebody's job is. So it's really just having that blend of, the soft skill, the focus on, who they are as people. And then Michelle said it, making sure everybody on the team knows that even if you're not the top performer on the team, that everybody brings something that's important to the team. And so highlighting that. And I think that's something I've gotten a lot of feedback that's something that they all appreciated as we've gone through the year. So we've become a pretty tight knit team, and everybody knows that they're just as valued as the person that has the most hires, or the person that's the most visible within the organization. And I have a couple new team members with me, so I'm going through this whole same process again. But it's really making sure that they know I'm there for them, and that's something that my team really appreciates about working with me.
Sharon, how big is your team?
Right now it's 8, and I do have quite a few people on furlough, which has been a little bit of a challenge, and that's difficult. So, now more than ever, I'm reaching out and we're making sure that I'm talking to that team that's out on furlough, making sure that everybody that's not on furlough, that's sort of doing double duty or maybe doing a little bit extra, that they know that it's something that's really appreciated, and really just trying to make sure everybody, keeps their eyes on the end of that time period. And we keep moving forward.
What kind of around what you're speaking to around giving that high touch and that empathy and that caring engagement with your team? When does a team get too big where, hey, you kind of got to figure something else besides weekly meetings, when it's just not doable because it's just too large of a team? Any ideas or thoughts around that?
If you've got a team of 30 people, it's going to probably be hard for you to be high touch. And that's where then you're going to have to layer, and hopefully your organization has the ability to, here's your role. And then you've got, people that are your direct reports and then direct reports underneath. So at least you can layer and ensure that you have that same kind of communication out, through the team that's, underneath you. And that was something that our leadership has done. Here's the expectation that I'm going to have with you, and then just seeing that fall in line with the people that you have underneath. So you can have a big team, but you're going to have some help on that personal touch piece of it.
Yeah, when I've been in-house for like 4 years. Before that, I had about 12 years consulting, where I'd go into companies and help build out tools and process for strategic sourcing. And whenever I went to a company, I would call them my success factor. And that was whoever the recruiters immediately reported to. I could kind of tell my odds of success based upon the amount of time that leader spent dealing with issues upwards and the amount of time they spent dealing with their team downwards, for lack of better terms. Whenever I could see that heavy engagement, downwards, don't mean to have that be a negative term, but I think everybody knows what I mean. That's when I could see, okay, this team is going to take what I'm giving to them and run with it and roll with it. That's where I get into like time, right? If everybody had all the time in the world, could do a lot of good things, but when that time is at limited resources, that was one of my tells, is how much noise is that staffing they're dealing with outward versus leading their team, who's reporting from below, so to speak.
Right. And it is, you have to do the balance of managing down and managing your team. And then you also have to balance the managing up. It's always a balance there. And if I am just thinking about my counterparts, I think we all have probably about that amount, anywhere between like 5 to 8 on our team. Each of us have that on our team on the experience hire side.
And Will and Michelle and for Justin, when you get into larger teams, and back to you also, Sheridan, do you create like a middle level of team leaders and kind of help have them delegate what you're thinking and how you want your team to be approached? Do you do any type of delegation?
Yes, especially when you have specialties within your organization that you can align recruiters to a specialty. I was in healthcare for a few years, and nurse recruiters, and then the business side. And so when you can do that, they need direct leadership. And plus, if you have that many recruiters, you just simply go crazy trying to keep up with metrics and everything else. So then it's incumbent upon those leaders to actually execute the same things that Sheridan was saying. So everything you would do for the whole department when it was of a reasonable size, you now expect the managers. If you have enough managers, I've gone to a director that then furthers that message of keeping everybody engaged and making sure that the group's not so large, or that they don't feel that the group is so large that they're getting lost in the opportunity. A lot of that is dictated, of course, by your organization and the structure that you choose to put in place. I do usually designate someone from my leadership team to act as my proxy when I'm not available. They can't sign off on certain expense things over certain amounts and things like that, but they do represent me when I'm not available.
I have two of the most amazing managers that work on the West team. They're phenomenal, really. I can't imagine. I can't imagine them not being part of the team, to be honest with you. They're just amazing. I've got somebody who sits in Hawaii, and then somebody who sits in San Diego, and they're just phenomenal. And I think we lead the same, and I don't really I feel like the three of us are so aligned in just about everything. So that same feel good. And remember that we're hospitality, right? Our saying is we fill the world with light and warmth of hospitality. And that is how we lead. And we lead from that perspective and from that feeling. And they both do that same thing. And so really everything we do, we're just so aligned with that it just trickles all the way down to the team. And I don't think, really you see all that indifferent between myself or either one of them in a sense, just because we are family. We work together. It's a lot of work, a lot of type A personalities, right? That's the other thing with recruiters. They're so hard on themselves anyway, that it takes a lot of empathy and understanding to have them not beat themselves up sometimes when things are out of their control. So I feel like as a leadership team, we're aligned. So.
Yeah, standing in front of a room full of recruiters, trying to teach some things. If you don't know what you're doing, they're going to chew you alive. I'll attest to that. Yeah, I love working with good TA leaders. I think there are 5 different ones where we all kind of migrate to different companies as we go. Where I've circled back and worked with 5 different TA leaders at different companies where they're like, "Hey, I'm over here now. Come working over here with me." Okay, cool, because you have that good team camaraderie. I like to see that when people kind of move in groups, because they work well together. It's very interesting to me. All right, excellent. Hey, we're running over, but Justin, I don't want to rush you or anything like that, but let's sort of jump over to your item.
Oh yeah, I think I was touching on just how to manage during the COVID crisis and how important culture is to the organization. And I think Michelle touched on empathy, because I think right now leading with empathy is really important. So although I'm really driven by the metrics, as Will stated, obviously, the paradigm shift now with COVID, and I already had a virtual team, right? I had 15 people. We were all virtual before COVID. So that was an easy switch. But, now kids are home. I got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at home that I got to go take care of to give my wife a break. So I think understanding as a leader how I can help be more empathetic and listen more. I probably spend a much higher percentage of my time listening and trying to accommodate other flex work scheduling. So letting them work later hours, letting them, maybe they have a new baby at home, they need to do a later schedule, or they want to make up time on the weekend, which is actually optimal for recruiting in my space, because all the people we recruit work in classified sites. They can't even answer a phone during the day anyway. So being able to accommodate a lot more than I probably would have, and just being cognizant of that direct line from my management, from my VP of TA to what I do, right? And really allowing that culture, as Michelle said, just kind of permeate to the rest of my team is really important. So I've definitely, although we're metrics driven, I've definitely stepped off that pedal some, because it's hard to push on somebody who's got a family member who could have COVID, or their kids are at home, or maybe they're single and they're stuck in an apartment So understanding who they are, if they're older and they're at risk, I have people like that on my team. If they're younger and they're singing in DC with, their cat, so I think understanding who they are as people dynamically, and then allowing them to succeed through technology and empathy, and really being able to combine the two. So for me, culture is really important. SCIC, I think, is doing a lot. We're fairly progressive when it comes to flex work even before COVID, but I think it's even that much more so. And we also are doing things where we are helping support, making masks and helping logistics and helping solve some of the issues with COVID. So tying their work to recruiting people that are going to potentially save lives, and making that connection with them helps keep them driven. Because sometimes we lose focus of mission. And I think mission needs to stay, really at the forefront in terms of what my folks do, right? So that's what I've been dealing with the last couple of months.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Justin. This goes for all the panelists. How much
Yeah.
does the purpose of the company, their products or services, is that a big motivator to recruiters who they want to go recruit for? Or is that just kind of a side item? Or do people really want to work for companies that do X or deliver Y? Is that what it's all about? Because besides Will's incentive program, which I love, by the way, pay was not on any of the items that the audience gave as examples, which was kind of surprising to me versus, well, I pay more, that's why they want to work for me. So where does purpose factor in?
Professional recruiters, so not those stopping over trying to figure out what they want to do, and by the way, they have value, I think really start to understand the niche that they want to recruit for, because it's satisfying. And not to mention it can be challenging too. Healthcare IT, I don't even know how a nurse recruiter self motivates at this point. There's just simply not enough of them, but they love it. And you wouldn't do that if you didn't like it. Oh, I'm just going to start here and I'm going to put you in nursing. So it also allows us as leaders to hire for those specific competencies and skills and what they've done historically. I think recruiters very much understand the desirability of the positions they're recruiting for. And if they're terrible, they don't want to be there. And their experience could be that they think they don't want to be a recruiter, but the reality is they don't want to recruit for these types of positions at this place. So brand of your organization has a lot to do with it, but the types of positions they're recruiting for, I think Michelle is right. There's this a sense of it gets mundane as a high volume recruiter, and you have to be realistic about how long that person's going to stay with you. If they're doing it. And if you don't have another spot, you can't move them over to exempt recruiter. You just simply don't have another spot for them. They are going to leave. And hopefully you've prepared them for the next opportunity that they have. And sometimes I facilitate that. But I remember being a recruiter, and there were things I didn't like and would always strive to learn. And I'm a terrible IT recruiter. I'm just not good at it, but I can recruit operations like crazy. So I don't know. I think it's important.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. Somewhat, I think a good recruiter can recruit, and a good sourcer can source, pretty much anything if you can learn it, but there is a passion about it. I do feel very passionate about hospitality, and I feel, the company itself is Hilton's, well, we're number one for a reason, right? We're Fortune's number one 2 years in a row for a reason. And we are led by Chris Nassetta, who's the most amazing CEO. And, it's just, I think that when you feel that way, you can deliver that passion to the candidate because you feel the passion. And I think that's such a successful place. So I do think it drives wanting to be on a team or wanting to be maybe in a certain industry, is because you feel so passionate about what those roles are and what they deliver. And in hospitality, every position is just as important as the next. So it doesn't matter if you're back of the house or you're front of the house or executive. Every single position is essential. in hospitality. You can't have one without the other.
I agree with Michelle. I think people in the DoD that do recruiting, they tend to either come from a military family or law enforcement, or they started in the industry and they're passionate about protecting the country and national security. And I think those recruiters that really get it, that passion, like Michelle said, can translate over the phone and the email and the text and the outreach. And if you're passionate, you're going to be a better closer. You're going to have better productivity. So if I need to motivate them to be passionate about waking up and recruiting to protect our country, that's a problem, right? Because that's what you're going to be doing here at SAIC. So I would hope you would enjoy what you're doing. If you enjoy it, you're going to be that much better, and it's going to translate to better productivity, which is good for me as a leader, right? But I think you have to have some type of connection to the work, the position, the work, and the organization, or it's ultimately just going to be a drag. And like Will said, they're going to move on to the next thing. And sometimes that's the best thing. If it's not the best fit, then it's not, I can't make you passionate about your work. I can show you how to do it more efficiently, but you can't teach that, right? So I agree with both you guys on that.
Excellent. So we've gone kind of long. My apologies for that, but conversation is going great. Just to kind of wrap things up, does anybody have any final comments, any final things that they want to let the audience know? We all good?
Good.
Yeah.
Let me
Thank you
know.
for having us.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Very much.
I really enjoyed it.
I like when these conversations go long because that means that the conversation was good. So most excellent. So with that said, hey, thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your upcoming weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye now.